So much more than just an S&C.
He probably is the team. He makes the team.
I think I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for him.
Kia ora boys, Brady Anderson, current strength and conditioning coach for the Black Ferns.
There's a phrase I use for him, like not all heroes wear cape.
He lives the values that our team has.
He cares quite a lot and it's quite rare.
Bit of a story, I got a letter in the mail saying congratulations, you have been enrolled into a course at university, which I hadn't actually applied for. My mother did it for me, so she started the journey, went to uni, and then lucky enough in the second year of my degree, there was an opportunity to apply for an internship with the Blues Rugby. My boss at the time, one of my mentors, not only in S&C but in life, he introduced me to the team, and the first guy who came up was Kevin Mialami, and then the next guy to come up was Doug Howlett. He goes, hey bro, my name's Doug, and I was like, yeah, it's pretty cool. I look back at it now, just some genuine legends of the game coming up to this kid and introducing themselves as if they weren't famous or weren't superstars. So from that day, I knew S&C was the path I was probably going to take. My internship led to a role with the Tunnies or Northland Rugby. So I spent 4 years there, and then that led to 6 years with Auckland Rugby. Post that, I was lucky enough to sit in the seat of S&C coach for the Black Ferns Sevens, which was an Olympic program, and lucky to be a part of that. Bunce, who's the current head coach of this role, this group said, look, there's a role here. If you'd like to come home, and sort of jumped at it. It was a bit too hard to turn down. That was the journey, and along the way, been lucky enough to work with New Zealand 20s, New Zealand Māori, which is a role that sits dear to my heart. Been with the Black Ferns previously, so a few national teams as well.
Well, I suppose what's pleasing in terms of the coaching group, they've made a real effort to concentrate on this area and they've been dominant tonight.
Brad's role is really valuable to the way that we perform and the way that we prepare to perform. For a lot of the girls in the team at the moment, none of the girls have actually worked with him. This is their first taste and experience of working with Brad Anderson.
And it was quite easy to start trusting him with, I guess, the way that he connected with us and I guess the effort that he put into everything. Like if you needed help, he was there. If you needed to ask a question, he knew the answer. And if you didn't know the answer, he was pretty honest about it, about getting back to us. So I guess that's a testament of his character.
I remember when Ruby, who has spent a lot of time working with him in the Black Ferns Sevens program, said to the girls, be ready, you'll probably become the fittest you've ever been in your life, but it's going to be a journey, and that's exactly what's happened. It's been challenging and tough.
Just before we came onto this tour, there was a certain group of us that was injured and was returning to play. So we knew that the week after we would do a Bronco. So we turned up to training and then we were like, oh yeah, we're gonna do it. But the girls looked over the field and the whole field was filled with the cones. And straight away we just knew everyone was doing a Bronco. So yeah, I thought that was quite cool. But for us, he wouldn't let us do it alone. If someone had to do it, we all had to do it.
The way that Brad carries himself, he lives the values that our team has, regardless of what space he's in. He's accommodating, he's welcoming, he always treats the spaces and the people of those spaces that we use with mana and integrity.
To recover well, we have to have the capabilities. So what I mean by that is, if we can shift the needle slightly to the right, so if we can get them slightly fitter, slightly faster, slightly stronger, then any stress we put on them, they should be able to bounce back. Again, if we can shift the capabilities of our athletes, if we can get them fitter, then anything we do underneath that should have a lesser cost. Therefore, athletes can tolerate more. The end of training, the stress of that training is not as high. The stress of a game is not that high. The stress of not having as much sleep is not as high because we're that much fitter. So I think from a recovery standpoint, that's where a large part of my focus goes. And then in terms of the big rocks, I suppose, within this program is sleep is the biggest thing we can do, and there's enough research now to support that piece of the puzzle. I don't think we have a problem with sleep in our program. I think our girls are professional sleepers, which is awesome, and I think our days are set up to promote that as well. And then lucky enough to have Logan on board, who's our sports dietitian or sports nutritionist. So from a fueling perspective, if you want the army to fight, you got to feed them. I'm lucky to have him, because without him doing that space, I don't think the outputs that we're looking for in training, we would get that. So again, recovery, that nutrition, that you see, those are the pillars of the program. My big rock for this program is just being able to tolerate high outputs, not only in a single session, but across a week, and being able to maintain that, not only just on a daily or a weekly basis, but 2 weekly, 3 weekly basis. Like our World Cup period is the period of 6 weeks. And within that, we'll manage them, but ultimately our girls need to be tolerating high levels of outputs for a 6-week period. If I look at the next 12 months, I think there's 40 weeks until the first week of the World Cup. Time is limited, so the time that we do have, we need to be efficient and well detailed to ensure that we're solving the problems that need to be solved. There's a number of different approaches to things, but for us in this program and our career at the moment, those are our big rocks.
Meters made, that's the most in the team today, getting a lot of big runs, carries for New Zealand.
Working back in the day where there was really no data integration in terms of your decision making, it was just gut feel coaching, to now having data coming out your ears. And for us, or relative to my seat, is working with Logan, our sports scientist, to again, what information do our athletes need? What information do our coaches need to then inform our training, our weekly schedules, our monthly cycles, and that will lead into a World Cup. So probably some examples now is GPS in most teams plays a somewhat of a role in terms of daily outputs in our on-field running rugby sessions. And again, all it allows us to do is give us a rough indication of where the outputs of a certain individual or a certain player relative to the plan we had. And the players always go above and below the plans that we put in place. But again, the data that we collect relative to GPS is just ensuring that the demands that we see in the game relative to GPS influence our training outputs to ensure that we're closing the gap between training and performance, or training and the demands of the game. So probably the most important part in terms of why GPS is utilised. And then there's the athlete health and load monitoring perspective as well.
The man, the myth, the legend, B Red in the house. All the mates in the world.
His program leads us to being better athletes, but also specifically him as a person has led us to being better in our values as well.
When I think of him, I think about how lucky we are to have someone with the CV that he has, but also with the care that he shows, not just to this team and the performances that he wants us and he knows that we're capable of putting out, but to the people that make this team.
He treats us like one of his daughters, and every morning when I'd go do my bike, if he's there, he'd come say good morning and say, oh, what's your plan for today? Just that genuine care that just plays a big part in why I wanna be in this team.
Yeah, he's always busy helping someone, so very selfless. But yeah, I think we're lucky to have him, very lucky.
So relationships for me are everything within our environment. So whether it's with my colleagues, Taz and Logan, Cara, Gabby, Doc, or whether it's with our coaching staff or whether it's with our players, the ability to work across different pillars of the program is huge. And it's probably one of the things that I'd hang my hat on being the utmost of importance. Athletes don't care how much we know, they just need to know how much we care about them. So that's one thing we try and instill in our athletes. So yeah, trust relationships is the go-to, I suppose, for me as an operator.